he's met the constitutional provision of at least nominating one person from each state. And for the first time, we have somebody from FCT as a nominee of the ministers. The look of the composition of the ministers shouldn't come as a surprise. A lot of times when elections are won, is a little bit of professionals and also a little bit of politicians. The problem would have said, what took us 2 months to come up with this list? Because there are people that are well known to the president all this time. So the list,
you have to balance interests.
Well, you have to balance interests.
Exactly.
Maybe waiting for the outcome of the elections of the National Assembly to see those who can present one thing or the other, those who are promised one thing or the other. So, but the list should not come as a surprise to Nigerians. If we were expecting a full list of professionals, it's not going to happen because there are those who also helped in the president winning the election. So it's natural that those people are given portfolios of office. The
national parlance is called those who have worked must chop. But do you see the preponderance of those who must chop in this list than those that Nigeria needs at this particular point in time?
Well, the point is well made. Nigeria is in a peculiar moment in our history. And it's important, very important, that the people who are given offices are there to work. The problems we have are problems that are 60-something years old, 20-something years old, missed opportunities over the years. And now, these problems have become a reality problem. And every decision that the president takes in these first 4 years is critical and very important that he takes them right. So, yes, in as much as it's good to compensate a political ally, but if anyone is not meeting up to expectation, he should remove them immediately because Nigeria is yearning for a huge change. And Nigeria is in need of a huge change. If not, we're heading in the wrong direction.
No matter the political influence of such person?
No matter the political influence. We have to save the country first before we can talk about politics. So he has done what he needs to do as a president, as a politician. He has compensated those he needs to compensate. Now it's time to do the work. Anyone that cannot do the work should be changed immediately. Whoever that appointed them or whoever interest is representing must be changed and brought a new person. Because we need capable and competent people to be able to redrive the system and the economy of Nigeria back in the right direction. Whether they do it right, whether they do it wrong, the buck stops on his table. So he must closely watch those he has nominated. If there's anyone who's not meeting up with expectation, he has to remove the person and change and bring a new person.
Well, and what could be the security issue around them? Well, particularly the one that just left office as a governor.
Yes.
How will a governor
not have
security clearance?
We know that's not the actual reasons. I'm sure it has
to do some other tones.
Yes,
maybe?
It has to do more with the petitions and the things like that that came on board when they were doing the clearing. There's no way you say a governor who has governed the state for 8 years does not have security clearance to be a minister.
When himself was a recipient of security reports every day.
Chief security officer.
Exactly, while he was
so it's clear that it's the undertone of the things that needs to be worked out. I expect that he will be cleared. Among the list, I think is the only one person, the man with the court case, that may, if it's true, may not scale through. But I expect
that should be the Taraba man.
Yes, I think it is Dan Lami or something.
Dan Lade or something.
Yes, that's the one. If the petition is anything true, that's the only candidate I don't expect to be cleared.
Clearance at the end of the day.
Yes. On the age balance, I think he did well. On the gender balance, I know the women folks were expecting a lot more. They were counting on getting somewhere between 13 to 15 nominations. I think they're about 9.
9, I think. Yeah.
So On that, maybe as we go along, if the other things how to compensate them, that will be an expectation. So that's probably where he's going to compensate the women more. Apart from that, the names we expect, the portfolio of office will determine where they are placed, and then we'll give them maybe another 6 months. But in every government, the unique thing is about what policy does the president have? What is he hoping to achieve from his policy? Because what they are, they're going to be drivers of that presidential policy. And we're hoping once portfolios are given out, we will now see the presidential policy. You know, there are policies used to run election. And then there are policies you see as you come into government, which are realities of what is on ground. So it's important to see that policy, where the policy is driving and the things that the policies want to achieve for Nigeria. That will be key to the survival of the government. Well, I ran under the political party. We did have some issues in our party within the state. A lot of us were not happy with the way...
Even when you have another brother superintending
yes,
over things.
And secondly, it was also a way of me showcasing what I can do. As you know, the cloud of my brother covers a lot of things that I do. So sometimes it's good to step outside the box to get your recognition and your name. So that's part of one of the things. We were not successful. The OB wave was too strong in the Southeast. So the removal of subsidy is the best thing that the Nigerian economy could have done for itself. Not because subsidy is not good, but it comes with a lot of fraud in it. And so we are spending more than we are gaining on the subsidy effect. Now, as an economist, I don't support removal of subsidy, and then, because subsidy is the palliative itself. And then replacing subsidy with also another palliative is gradually sending us back to where we're coming from. What we
because very soon you will require huge sums of money to
meet
begin to execute those palliatives as well.
Yes. So what we should be doing is removing subsidy and finding a permanent solution to the problem. Example, the 3,000 gas bus that the president has proposed for about 100 billion naira. I would have had the president push up to 150 billion. Instead of the 3,000 buses, we spend it on conversion of existing keke to have a gas component. Because the more people that, the more of the people that this hardship hit are the poor people. And their number one means of transportation
is keke.
Is keke. For conversion of one keke is between 100,000 to about 150,000. So if we take, let's say 1 million keke, averaging somewhere between 25 to 27,000 paid state, including the FCT. I don't know how many keke we have here, but that's a lot of keke. If we do that, convert them, one, it will create businesses around the state because it's companies that will do these things. It will create employment around the states because they will have to have people doing this. Conversion of 1 million keke across the country takes time to do. 150 billion naira, and it does not have to be free. The federal government can just put a levy on this keke of 200 naira per day as a way of collecting back their money. So we invest the money in keke. We've solved the problem, we reduce a lot of the problem for the poor masses, who are your number one concern, who you want to send this money of palliatives to. So instead of paying 200 naira per stop, they might be paying 50 naira or 70 naira per stop. It's better for the economy of the country.
Well, do we then, is it possible, in this very laudable suggestion that you have made, to also probably include those commercial taxis?
Yes.
Buses
the number one means is the keke means, because that's what is hitting both your driver, your steward, your nannies. This is what is biting on them. The taxes can also be included. More importantly, the bus system for those states that have bus system. Like Lagos State has a bus system, Abuja has a bus system. To convert a bus, I think it costs about 600 to 700,000 per bus to also do the conversion. The reason is that the more we move away from fuel, the less and less that the prices of fuels will continue to go. Price of fuel will continue to go up. So because with the dollar open, everything you touch is supply and demand. Supply and demand. So when you have less demand for a product, the price of that product starts to come down as well. Okay. So our independence should be diverting towards gas because Nigeria has surplus of gas. And it's also a huge area of business for Nigerians. You see fuel stations everywhere. You see they sell fuel, they sell diesel almost everywhere. That will be an opportunity for gas to also come up. It's a business arrangement. So it's an open
open-ended
for Nigeria at the moment. And plus, is an area that is vastly untapped. So the president, in his development economic strategy, has a window to be able to borrow enough on gas pipelines, on gas redistribution of system, and be able to use those money in development of Nigeria. Because when you take loans for a particular project, there are things called associated loans. Associated loans. So if I'm taking loan to build a gas pipeline, to transport gas, or things of that nature, I must have the road network. I must have the rail network for the transmission of this gas in the different areas. So there are associated projects that go with these things. And it must be projects that must be done in Nigeria. Because what we must do must have a multiplier effect. So our money, one of the reasons why I'm against the 3,000 bus system, gas bus system, is that that's money that is having flight. We are paying a foreign country to supply us buses, and we're paying 100 billion naira. Every money this government spends in the next 4 years.
You're also creating jobs.
Must be spent
if
locally.
You are importing those buses, you're exporting the job.
You're exporting the money, and you're bringing in finished products. And exporting the jobs. So every money that we spend must be spent locally. Must be spent locally. Must be spent locally. And one key thing, I see a lot of mining going on across the country. It is dangerous for us what we're doing. Governors and government give these open-ended mining licenses, and these things are exported out of our country. What my concentration is that a lot of the policies we need to put in place right now need to be whatever monies we're investing, we need to focus on investing them locally. It is important that our money does not have a flight, does not have a flight risk. For example, what you've said, rather than importing the 3,000 buses, even if we decide to import 1,000 and do the keke option, it should come from Innocent, who's a local manufacturer. We should be able to ask Peugeot if they're able to do anything and spend that money with them, because those people are creating employment in Nigeria, and the money will keep on turning around locally. The only thing that they'll spend outside is the raw material they need to achieve what they need here locally. So it's important that huge amount of money that we spend must be spent locally to improve the economic situation of the country. Very important question, and is one that is open for this government to do. Part of the reason why it's not been done, one is electricity, and two is government will. Gas is an option for most of the industries to run a 24-hour electricity. So it can be done. So I think the other thing is the political will. If you look at, like you said, if you look at the amount of Toyota in Nigeria, I don't think
from the official point of view,
I don't think there's any African country that has the number of Toyota that we have.
That is the vehicle of choice for our public officers.
Oh, yes. It's either, if it's not Corolla, Camry, if it's not Prado.
It is the bus type, the bus variants.
Yes. So we have all kinds here in Nigeria. So, and we are due to have, even if it's an assembling plant, even if it's an assembling plant. The reason why I'm staying away from manufacturing is because when you talk about manufacturing, there's all kinds of components that go into that manufacturing. So even if it's an assembling plant, we are due for something.
Like we had before.
With Peugeot and all that.
Peugeot, Volks.
Yes. So we are due for even an assembly plant. And the market is already here. So there's no need to doubt whether they're going to make money. We're the biggest, for Toyota, we're the biggest African market for Toyota business. So they cannot doubt whether they will make money. So it lacks, number one problem I know that they have is the electricity. Number two problem is the political will. If the government makes it as an agenda to bring in Toyota here, believe me, they will come. Believe me, they will come. We're driving the cars. We have a lot of Mercedes here.
Yes.
You have more G-Wagons in Nigeria than even have that even have maybe in most part of Europe and even in the US.
As if those things are actually manufactured with Nigeria in mind.
So you know, Mercedes could be here, BMWs could be here.
Toyota has no reason not to have a plant.
Toyota has no reason not to have a plant in Nigeria. Absolutely no reason. Because it's a car of choice, both for the middle class, the rich, even for the poor. One of the first things they want to do is buy a Toyota Corolla. So they have no reason not to have a plant here. Yes. It's almost like their allocation went up by close to double to at least 1.5%.
Yeah, at least compared to what they'll be getting.
Yes.
So
if you have a state that's been getting 3 or 4 billion, they're getting somewhere between 6 to 7 billion. So first charge, a lot of states may have backlog of salaries. So there's no more excuse
not to pay
why you cannot pay those backlogs. Even though you're not the one that inherited them, government is a continuum. So there's no more excuse, because if you're going to go out to borrow money, you have additional 2-3 billion naira monthly that you can tap into to pay the backlogs of salary. And like you said, this is not the time to start considering projects that do not have that don't have impact on the people. I will say it again, Nigeria is at a peculiar time. Both at the federal level and at the state level, we must invest our money in projects that the people can feel the impact on. We must think of the days of having these federal allocation money. We must understand that it's going to run out very soon. Unless if Nigeria invests heavy in gas, if you are depending on petroleum, it's going to run out soon. So every state needs to come up with ideas on how to develop their internal generated revenue to make sure that they are able to sustain payment of salaries, payment of all the overheads of the state must come out from their internal generated revenue. And this should be the number one goal of every state government. When I say internal generated, I'm not asking them to go and continue to squeeze the people to try to milk them out of everything they have. No, you invest to receive.
Yeah, regenerative ventures.
You invest to receive. What do they need? Better roads, better market, better streets, good atmosphere to do business. When you provide the basic things that they need from you, then businesses will expand. Then in general, revenue would also increase on its own. So I'm not saying that the state governors should hold the money they're holding and continue to squeeze the people. No, they should invest in the state with these additional monies they have. You cannot build enough roads because Nigeria needs as much road as possible.
God-given resources.
Not just the revenue, the opportunity of creating industries for it. One of the biggest mining that the people are doing right now is lithium. And lithiums are used for battery production. Even if they don't want to produce batteries in Nigeria, they can produce the cells here.
Okay.
Take the product, manufacture the cells, and then export finished product.
That's like adding a little bit of value to it.
Adding value to it. So that way, our people have employment. Nigerians need to be gainfully employed. So when those things come out from there, and you're mining things worth 150 million, maybe on a 6 months basis, or 300 million on an annual basis, and then you are paying 10, 15 million to the state government as revenue, and you're making about 200 or 300
and the state government are happy.
And they are
because they don't know that they're just getting pittance.
If we close those mining loopholes and have them, whether you're mining gold, whatever you're mining, at least do your first grade finished product and export. It will create employment. It will create opportunities. It will also give us the opportunity of learning what they are doing. It will give us control. Because when it's mined and put out in bulk, you don't know the quantity of what's going out. If he tells you, oh, it's all sand, but under here we have a stone, you don't have any way of arguing. But if he's exporting 10,000 cells of lithium finished, you see it there.
Yeah.
It's there for you to see. When you look at the calculator,
market price will probably be a global.
It's a global knowledge. But when they are pulling it raw, you don't know the quantity. You don't know what you say. Oh, when we get there, we'll go and refine it. So you don't know what is going out. But we know that if they're not making 10 or 20 times more than what they're paying you, they will not be here because of cost of doing business. So yes, they're coming in here with their resources. Yes, they're coming here with their money. But we own the product. And we are also the ones 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now that will be left the consequences of the damages done to our ecosystem. So let us at least gain the resources to fix our place. So when the damages do come, we'll know there's something that was gained out of it. So I have a big problem with all these state licenses that they're giving for mining. They should close the loophole. Everybody that's coming to mine, you must manufacture. If it's stone, convert it to granite and export finished product. Set up the granite plant here. Nigerians are still exporting granite today while we have big stones, good stones here. So, and our stones are being also moved out of the country. So why can't we have some type of finished product? If you can't finish it 100%, finish it to some level. It gives us the opportunity of understanding the value of what is going out. It gives us opportunity of setting up industries, mini industries, that our people can work. We have enough in this country for the young people not to be complaining about employment. We have more than enough. So it is one part that when I see it, it really hurts me. Because I know that these things are things that can be, if you go to India today, at the back house of almost every businessman in India, you see a small plant. If they tell you how many countries from that the backyard that is servicing, you will not believe it. You will see a backyard with maybe 10, 15 workers, but almost every two weeks, he's sending out 1 container, 2 containers. At the end of the day, he will tell you that this year he did 50 containers from the back of his house. You will not believe it. These are the things we see when we go out of the country. And we're wondering, why is our own just moving away like this? They tease our governors with 10, 15, 20 million dollars, which is peanuts to what they're moving out, and we give them the licenses. They dig up. Have you gone to a mining place? Have you seen the level of damages?
The few that I see when you are airborne, for instance.
Yes. You see the level of damages.
Alone scares me. Those ones are not even mining sites, really. They are, okay, it's part of mining. All those quarry sites and all of that.
If you look at
see artificial lakes.
Yes.
Developing those places.
So, and these are the way years from now they'll tell you
they become serious ecological problem.
Ecological problem. So
for that reason alone,
yes,
should the federal government just sit back and be watching?
No, they should not. The federal government needs to intervene. They really needs to intervene.
So what do we blame here? Is it a federal government that has just ceded the turf to states, or is it the law? Because I'm not so sure what the law says about who owns or who has the power to regulate mining now.
It's also an opportunity for National Assembly. For one, we should go into the local content law like we did with oil. These things should also be part of the local content law, whereby as the foreigners come, they need to be engaged. They need to be a partner of a Nigerian business who's part of them, who owns at least 51% share. So
that's a way of domesticating those companies
here. So let them come and create employment. The level of mining that's going on in Nigeria, wow. You'll be shocked as to what's going on. It's enough to provide millions of jobs for the young youths is enough to provide millions of jobs.
We used to have a federal minister of mines, federal minister of mines
and power.
Power. The power was taken completely away
Yes.
to another place. But at least I know that there was.
There
When my former state governor, for instance, finished his first term, the ministerial portfolio he was given was Minister of Mines.
Mines, yes, Minister of Mines.
I'm talking about Dr. Kayode Fayemi. I want to believe that there's still a Ministry of Mines.
There is.
What should that ministry be doing in the light of what you just referred to now as the upscale in this? Okay, I'm told that it's mines and steel.
Mines and steel, that's correct. It's mines and steel.
Yes.
So this is an opportunity that they need to open up a communication with all the state governors. We need to curb this open mining. Let us go into manufacturing. Let us go into manufacturing, finished product. I don't want to discourage mining. I don't want to discourage the international communities who are coming here for this business. Yeah. And believe me, if we make it as a condition, a lot of the Chinese companies that are here are also happy to establish such things because it also makes it easier for them. But I know their problem is going to talk about electricity. This is the reason why I say gas is a very important aspect for this government, development of gas. Because if we're looking for manufacturing, the next thing they're going to tell you is power. Next thing is power. But if we have a means of making sure that no matter the amount of gas you need, it can be supplied to you, then the issue of power goes away. So because every manufacturing can set up a mini plant power to make sure they have 24 hours of electricity. So and those things are all possible now, but we must push for those mining to be converted to have an industry here. When people mine from other places, they can bring it to, even if it's one local one, let's say one here is around Abuja for most of the northern areas. You have one maybe somewhere in the southeast for particular products. And then when they mine, they bring it there and do their finished products. But let us establish mining license and converting them to manufacturing license. It will go a long way in providing jobs. Remember what I said at the beginning. Local manufacturing, local job creation is key to the survival of this economy. Because the number one problem we're having today is job. That's the number one problem we're having. Once people, we have a huge unemployment rate. And when you look at even in states, some states have 50-something%, some states have 70-something% of unemployment rate. And one of the things I saw when I ran for governor is the level of people who are jobless, and most of them are between the age of 18 and maybe like 35. Most of them are between that age bracket. And they're the futures of tomorrow. So we must look at how to create employment in our states.
So much work for the Tinubu government to do against the promises it has made. It's going to be having at least 48 ministers. We have enough hands to be given these responsibilities.
Sure.
Within these 48, you should be able to pinpoint very critical areas of assignment for them. And this mining should be one of them. Because of what the nation stands to benefit ultimately. I guess next to the issue of power to drive this whole process should also be the state of our roads. The president, I also noted somewhere, promised to build a truly national highway system to make road transportation faster, cheaper, and safer.
Remember what I said something? I said, there's a huge opportunity in gas. Even if the president calls for $500 billion loan on gas development, he will get the funding for it. On that 500 billion, 200 or 150 billion could be related project, which is the road network that you need. The problem we have is that when we want money for something, we just go for it. In anything you do, there are related projects. In everything you do, even the airport system is also a related project. So we can borrow money for gas development, And then you have road network related projects. You have port system related projects. These are all related projects that when you give me money to develop my gas system, you must give me money to build roads to move my gas system. You must give me money to also build my port system in case if I want to export my gas out of the country. So these are all related projects. So the government has the opportunity of building a very large industry within the gas system, and we need it for manufacturing. Everything we've talked about here, creating jobs and all those things, boils down to manufacturing. And manufacturing will need gas is the quickest way of getting them electricity. So gas is the future of what we need to do.
All right. Like I said, so much to talk about. Because we are an economist, the time is running fast. Because we are an economist, let me take you to a very, very familiar terrain.
Sure.
That is what should be the monetary policy or policies as they may be under the Tinubu government. At the moment, we have what I would call a kind of conundrum in the central bank. Has no head. No matter how enthusiastic you are, once you know that everything is tentative, you may be retained, you may be asked to go, the asked to may also follow you. It kind of has this restrictive ability on your, the restrictive effect on your ability to give your all. How should the president move to resolve on a permanent basis for the purposes of having sound fiscal and monetary policies aligning together? How should the president move to end the present imbroglio in the central bank?
Sure. Good question. The problems we have today, the economic problems we have today, were caused by not having a good monetary policy system. I think I was on one of your shows probably nine years ago.
Yeah, around that time, yeah.
And I said that Nigeria does not have an economic policy then, that we have a monetary policy problem. And I still maintain that we have a monetary policy problem because everything we're talking about, the increase in all of these things, when you go back, it goes down to the exchange rate. And the exchange rate is where we are because of the decisions or indecisions we've made around the monetary policy system. I will say this. Good bankers did not make good CBN governors. And the reason is a very good banker is an analyst for credit because that's what they deal with. A CBN governor needs to be an analyst, a financial and economic analyst. What do I mean? When you see things happening across the world, you're able to take those events and forecast and say, how would this impact the economy of Nigeria? And these are the areas that the bankers do not think because they're not trained to think this way. They're trained to think about profit.
And the other is trained to think about development.
Yes, the other one is trained to think about development. How does the information, things that are happening across the world, which country that when they have an impact, it affects Nigeria, what are the decisions? For example, I'll give you an example. Nigeria has been having a cost pool inflation. And the central bank has been treating it as a demand pooled inflation. A demand pooled inflation is when you have excess money chasing few goods, which is what you have in the United States. But it's not the problem we have here.
Yeah.
The problem we have here is that supply is not meeting demand due to high cost of transportation, which has deterred those supplies not meeting demand. And what are we doing? We are practicing what the United States is practicing. We're increasing interest rate rather than reducing interest rate.
It's like a case of somebody who has leprosy.
Yeah,
just because it's a skin problem and he saw his neighbor who has something that looks like a skin problem, he's using aboliki to treat it. He too thinks aboliki will cure his own leprosy.
That's true. So these are the mistakes we've been making. So having a professional who will understand this thing is very important. It does not have to be a banker. we need to stay away from thinking bankers will make the best central bank governor. No. Let us look for a professional. Let us look for an analyst who will be able to analyze the problem that Nigerian government is
A
having.
man with a mind for development of the economy.
And secondly, central bank governors are not seen, they're only heard. When you have a central bank governor that attends every function, that comes to every function.
Celebrity CBN governor.
Because
Celebrity CBN governor.
when you have that, those are relationships telling you where the government money is being invested. So when we look at it, you don't see the central bank governor. When you see them in events, it's charity events that they come to. They are only heard, but they're not seen. That makes a good central bank governor. It should only be heard and not seen.